Hello everyone, welcome back to Pseudocoder, chapter number 3, and today we are going to learn another data structure under the Python collection data types, which is tuples. Now, tuples are collection of values. They are used to store multiple values and they are ordered and immutable. And these two things are really important here. So let's dive into it. Now let's check how can you define a tuple. So here you can see that tuple is basically you need to have a variable name, parentheses, and then inside the parentheses you can provide values. So let's define one now. So let's say I have letters and then parentheses. So I can have, A, can have B or C. See how in list we had square brackets, here we have parentheses, keep that in mind. And then suppose I have another tuple, say numbers, and I can have 1 2 3 in it. If I go ahead and print the letters, and if I go ahead and execute, we can see that it prints the tuple with parentheses. Okay, so that is one way of defining a tuple. What is another way? So you can actually use the tuple constructor to define it, and what goes inside it is you need to say something like tuple, and inside this tuple you have to provide a iterable. Now what is a iterable? Iterable can be something that you can iterate over. So for example, it can be a list, correct? So it can be a list. So I suppose I have a list of 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, okay? And if I wrap that inside my tuple constructor, this is gonna give me back a tuple. So I can just try and print that out for you. So if I go ahead and execute, you can see that it prints 1 2 3 4, and which is a tuple. So that's how you can define a tuple. Okay, so let's move on and see how can you access the tuple values. So just gonna make some room here. Okay, so how do you access tuple values? Since tuple is ordered, that means it has indexes, and since it has indexes, that means you can use index to access the item. Okay, so here if I go ahead and let me copy this letters from here. Okay, so I have these letters, and if I want to get the first item from this tuple, these are gonna be indexed. So the first item is gonna be 0 index, 1, 2. Indices on collection types always start from 0. Okay, I have repeated it 100 times in all of our videos so that it jams into your brain and you remember this. So every collection type started with index 0. All right, so I'm going to, if I want to access the first element, I mean the first element in the tuple, what I'm going to do is I can do letters of 0. That will give me A. In this case, it will give me A. So I can quickly go and try that out. So if I do that and click on run, you can see that it gives me A. If I want the second element, I can just do 1 and I execute this, it gives me B, and so on. And one thing that you might have already known by now is that if you do a -1, it is going to give you the last element. So if you want to go in a reverse order, you can say the last element here is going to be -1, second last is going to be -2, third last is going to be -3, and so on. So if I do a letters of -1, you see that it returns me C. If I do letters of -2, in this case, this is the second last element because it is -2. I execute, it gives me back, oops, sorry. I execute that and it gives me B. So you see that negative indexes gives us the items starting from the right side of the tuple. Now, the similar slicing concept also applies here, like it applied on strings and list. So in slicing, what we do is we have a start index and then we have a end index. So whenever I have to say like, I have to start from say 0 in this case, then I give colon, and then I have to give a end index. Now end index, if suppose I give it 2, the end index is exclusive. That means the end index is not included in the when it tries to count the number of items. So if it is 2, that means it is always going to be 2 minus 1, which is 1. So it is going to be from 0 to 1. So 0 is A and 1 is B. So even if we say 0 2, it is going to return A and B, and we can quickly check that. So if I run it, you can see that it returns me A, B. If you don't know what slicing is, please go to my string lecture. I have explained it thoroughly. I will mention the link in the description below, so feel free to check that out. Okay, so just very briefly, if I want to have elements from 0 to 2, I can say 0 2. If I specify nothing in end, it is going to go till the end. So it is going to start from 0 and go till the end. So that is true again. If I want to start from the beginning and go till a certain element, so if I want to go from, start of the list, start of the tuple till second index, and I execute this, it is going to give me A, B. It is always going to be exclusive. Keep that in mind. It's going to be 2 minus 1, 1. So it is going to give me 0 and 1. Okay. So that's all about slicing. The in operator, the one that we talked about in the previous lecture, also applies here. So if you want to find a particular, a particular item inside the tuple, you can do that item in the tuple name. So for example, what I can do is print, say I want to check if A is in the tuple. So I can say A in, what is my tuple name? Letters. So if I do A in letters, it is either going to give me true or false, because it's going to check, is A in the letters? It's either going to say yes or no. So if I execute this, it says true, that A is in letters. If I go and change it to Z and I now execute it, it gives me false. It says Z is not there in letters. Okay. So that is something about accessing tuple values. Now, the one thing to notice about is that tuple is immutable. That means its values cannot be changed. Since its values cannot be changed, we do not have a modify or update section for tuples. Once you specify a tuple stays the same. The values inside it stays the same. You can add to the tuple values, but you can never change them. So for example, if I have these letters, and suppose I have this uppercase tuple, so I have A and B. If I want to add these two, if I want to append the uppercase to my letters tuple, then I can do that, but I cannot change any values in A, B or C. So for example, I can show you, if I do letters of 0 and I assign it something, I execute this, it is going to say tuple object does not allow item assignment. That means update is not allowed on the values that you have assigned. Okay. So, but what if you want to, concatenate these two tuples? What do you do then? What you can do is you can do something like letters plus uppercase. So this is going to give you a new list that is going to be a combination of these two tuples. So if I go ahead and execute this, you see it gives me A, B, C and A and B. Now let's talk about packing and unpacking tuples. Now, what is packing a tuple? Let me get rid of this first. Okay, so we'll talk about, so what is packing? Packing is when you assign something to a tuple, when you define a tuple, that is called packing. So here, say for example, I have something called weights and I say 5, 3 and 8. So here what I have done is I have done packing. So when you define a tuple, that is called packing. Now, what if I want to get these weights and I have to assign them to three variables? How do I do that without having to, do it like variable 1 is equal to weights of 0, variable 2 is equal to weights of 1, variable 3 is equal to weights of uh, 2. So if I don't want to do that, how do I do it? So you can do all the packing in one line in tuples as well as in list. So what you do is you can have variables. So x, y, z are my variables. So you have comma separated variables equal to, and then you just specify the tuple. You have to make sure that the number of items that you have in your tuple should match the number of variables you have. And if I go ahead and I print that, so I say x comma y comma z. This is one way to print multiple values in Python. I'm becoming lazy to print everything on one line. So you see I printed that. So when I did x, y, z is equal to weights, what it did is the first value was assigned to x, the second value was assigned to y, and the third value was assigned to z. And it has come up in the same sequence in the print statement because I did x, y, z print and it showed up as 5, 3, 8. So as you can see, it maintains the order when you try to unpack values. So when you are dealing with tuples, you can keep that in mind that whatever is the position of a particular item, you can get that using unpacking. Now let's see how can you sort a tuple. Okay. So if you remember, tuples are immutable. That means you cannot do inline sorting. What is inline sorting? Inline sorting means you have the element with you have the collection, and then the dot sort method that we use actually do the sorting of the elements inside the same collection. So it is doing inline sorting, it is affecting the same collection. So in list we saw that we could do a dot sort, but here in tuple we cannot do that because tuples are immutable. You cannot change the values, and so you cannot change the order of those items as well. So here if I say I have something called numbers and I have 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I do a dot sort, I'm going to get an error. So if I do a dot sort, if I go and execute, you'll see that it says tuple object has no attribute sort because it's trying to do inline sorting, and that method is not available for tuples. So how do we do that? We can do that using two methods. Actually, one method. What you can do is you can use the sorted method that we talked about during list. All you have to do is you can do sorted, and in the parentheses you have to give the name of the tuple. Now remember that this is going to give you back a list. So let me go ahead and print this for you. So if I print this, you can see that it gives me back a list in a sorted format, correct? Now what if I want a tuple? You can typecast it. So you can say tuple sorted and just wrap that inside the tuple method. So you can see now it returns me a tuple. So this is something that you can do. I would suggest that if you are dealing with a situation where you have to alter the elements of your collection, then tuple might not be the best choice for you. Maybe you can use list, okay? Because it is mutable and you can make changes in that list. Here what it is doing is the sorted method is not sorting the numbers, the numbers tuple. What it is doing is dot sorted is sorting numbers, but it is not assigning it to the numbers tuple. It is creating another instance of it, and that we are printing. So for example, now if I show you what my numbers are, so if I just print my numbers, execute, you will see that it has not changed. Maybe it's not a great example. Let me do this. Let me do 2, 3, and let me show you now. Okay, so as you can see that first print that I did with sorted actually has the numbers sorted. When I print numbers, it is showing me the same exact tuple that is here. What it is doing is it is creating another object of sorted numbers, and that's what we are printing. So it is not affecting the existing tuple. So I hope this was clear. And what if you want to reverse a tuple? Then you can use something called, you can use slicing and with a -1 with that. So what you do is you do numbers, square brackets, colon colon, -1. Keep in mind that this also is not inline reverse. It is something that is returning something. Okay, so if I go ahead and print this, execute, you see that it has been reversed. So this was the original list, the numbers. And if you see 3298, so it is 3298761. So it has been reversed. So these are some functions that you can use to reverse or do some things, but it is not going to actually change the tuple because it is immutable. Let's talk about the last topic of this lecture. So, how can you delete a tuple? Since it cannot be changed, you cannot change the values in it, but you can definitely delete the whole tuple. So, it is really simple. All you have to do is, first I need a tuple. So, I'm just going to do numbers 1, 3, 4, 5. And if I want to delete it, what I can do is I'll write del, which is a delete, delete keyword, and then the name of the tuple. So here, if I delete this tuple and if I try to print it now, after deleting it, it should give me an error saying that it cannot find numbers. So it is saying name numbers is not defined, which is exactly correct because we just deleted it here. So you cannot modify the items in it, but you can definitely delete the whole tuple. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. We did not see a whole lot of modify functions, so that's why this particular lecture was really short. Since it is immutable, it actually has its own limitations. I hope now you understand what tuples are, and I hope now you know the difference between tuples and lists. If you do, let me know in the comments below at least one difference that you have learned today. Okay, so the next lecture is gonna be on sets, and it will be up really, really soon. If you have been following my Python programming course, give me a thumbs up, comment below. This really, really helps my channel. And also subscribe to my channel if you want to see similar videos like this coming up. The code for this is going to be on my GitHub. The link for that will be in the description below. I also have Blind 75 and algorithm and data structure playlists. So if you are looking for something to, practice your Python skills on, you can definitely check that out. And all of them are in Python. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.